Will now be recorded.
Hey everybody, this is Dr. Doug Smith. It's a couple minutes after 2:30 on a Tuesday afternoon, so it is time for our Monday through Thursday 2:30 podcast. Sorry, we had a couple of minutes getting started there. I'm not sure if that was that actually might have been my fault on that one, Alex. I have been having difficulty with connections for the past couple of hours. I've got a lot of signal strength, but the quality of the signal has just been atrocious. But thank you for getting it restarted and getting it going, Alex. In fact, thank you for everything that you do. We would not have the level of communication that we have with our people if it wasn't for the fact that you just, Alex, you just don't quit. You just work every day and you don't give up. Love your tenacity. Absolutely admire it. All right, everybody, let's get to work here. All right, high output heart failure. What in the world is that? Okay, high output heart failure. All right. Let's talk to the people who have experienced opioid withdrawal, okay, and think back to the horror of what you went through. Okay, think back to your heart. Okay, I know you remember your heart beating really fast, and I know you remember your heart beating really hard. That, my friends, is high output heart failure. High output heart failure, which will kill you. It is dangerous. It is a true medical emergency. Let me say that again. High output heart failure is a true medical emergency and it will kill you. Okay, it takes time, but it will kill you. High output heart failure is when your heart is beating too hard and too fast. It's that simple. Okay, and it actually has a definition. Okay, when we measure how hard the heart is working, okay, we gotta index it for the size of the person. Okay, the amount of blood being pushed out by a heart for 118-pound female versus the amount of blood that's going to be required for a 295-pound male, they're not going to be the same. Okay, so you've got to index it. You got to peg it to the body size, and that's done with what we call a cardiac index, CI, cardiac index. Okay, and cardiac index it's nothing more than heart rate times stroke volume divided by surface area of the body. That's all it is. Okay, there's nothing magical about it, but it actually is a stunningly effective way to assess the status of the heart. And if you remember yesterday, if you don't remember yesterday, go back and watch it. But if you remember yesterday, or else you can go back and watch it, we talked about a study from 1998 by a researcher by the name of Kienbaum, an anesthesiologist out of Germany. And we've spent a lot of time looking at the cardiac index in the Kienbaum study. Now, remember yesterday, okay, Kienbaum took 10 volunteers from a local methadone clinic. Kienbaum's an anesthesiologist, so he does what anesthesiologists do. He put 10 people to sleep. And then once he had them to sleep, now these were 10 people from the methadone clinics. They were opioid dependent. Okay, they'll go into withdrawal. Once he had them put to sleep, he gave them Narcan, naloxone. He put them in withdrawal, and he measured their cardiac index. 1998, people, 1998. Okay, 1998. And what he found was the cardiac index went sky high. Okay, it went off the chart. It went sky high. Okay, normal is 2 to 4. Okay, the cardiac index that Kienbaum measured on the 10 volunteers was an average of 4.7. Okay, now what is that? That is high output heart failure, and that's the bottom line. When you go into opioid withdrawal, you're going into high output heart failure. It's that simple, and there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. That study was done in 1998. Now, what's driving the high output heart failure? Well, we know it's the adrenaline toxicity, the catecholamine toxicity. Okay, it's all in the book. I really want you to read the book. It's all in the book. Okay, book lays it out well. Okay, and so there is no way on the planet, there's no way in the universe that you're going to get high output heart failure out of a mental health disorder. I mean, come on now, people. Common sense. Okay, a mental health disorder is going to give you high output heart failure. Go and look up high output heart failure. In fact, I left the little Cleveland Clinic thing on top there. So you go to Cleveland Clinic, look it up, look up the definition. Okay, you're not going to find any mental health disorders that give you high output heart failure. And for the psychiatrist to believe that a mental health disorder can result in high output heart failure, they're crazy. They're wacko. They're wrong. Okay, it would be humorous except for the fact they've killed a whole bunch of people. They're wacko. If you believe high output heart failure can come from a mental health disorder, you are wacko. That is the definition of wacko. What's the definition of wacko? Believing that a high output heart failure can come from a mental health disorder. Come on, people, wake up. They don't know what they're talking about. Okay, they're incompetent. Okay, it's that simple. They're incompetent. Okay, and one thing about the incompetent, they remain incompetent. Okay, that was well, we'll look at that a different day. There's actually some very interesting work done on incompetence. Okay, but the incompetent remain incompetent, and they never recognize their incompetence. Okay, why don't they recognize their incompetence? Well, that would be because they are incompetent. If they were competent, they would recognize their incompetence, but they'll never recognize their incompetence because they're incompetent. And if you believe you can get high output heart failure out of a mental health disorder, you're wacko, you're incompetent. You just check all the squares. Okay, it's just amazing. So it's pretty obvious that the book is going to be able to put the information into the hands of the people, and the people are gonna they're gonna rise up and turn this thing around. Okay, people don't like being put into high output. People do not like being put into high output heart failure, but then they do not like being put into high output heart failure and then told they have a mental health disorder. No, people don't like that. Okay, that's not how you make friends. Okay, you don't make friends by poisoning their DNA to the point that they get high output heart failure, and then when they do get high output heart failure, mislabeling them as having a mental health disorder called addiction. Okay, almost like they had a fallacy in their personality or something. I mean, just absolutely ridiculous. So, book's coming along good, everybody. And by the way, everybody that's reached out to me and said I am on board with the Mass Tort lawsuits, God bless you. Thank you. Let's get this done. Okay, these people must be held responsible for what they've done, and there is nobody else but us holding them responsible, and there is no better way to hold them responsible than a Mass Tort lawsuit. And you know these Mass Tort lawsuits are going to be successful when you're looking at the fact that the studies from 1998 showed that when people went in, these weren't mice, people went into opioid withdrawal, they went into high output heart failure, which will kill you, which is why 4 million have died. They've killed a lot of people. All right, we'll hold here for today. Alex, thank you for everything. And don't forget to like and subscribe to us. Don't forget to post this podcast on your social media, everybody else's social media. Have a good evening. And folks, we will be back tomorrow. Bye-bye now.